The hallways of Westlake High buzzed with afternoon energy as students rushed to their lockers, eager to start their weekend. Among the sea of faces, 16-year-old Maya Johnson moved with purpose, her worn backpack slung over one shoulder. Unlike the others, she wasn't heading to football games or mall hangouts. Maya had responsibilities waiting at home, helping her mom with weekend shifts at their small convenience store and tackling the mountain of advanced placement homework she'd need to complete if she wanted to keep her scholarship chances alive. Maya tucked a strand of braided hair behind her ear as she reached for her textbooks. Her fingers brushed against the small photo taped inside her locker, she and her mother smiling in front of their apartment building the day they moved in, 3 years after her father passed away. That smile was Maya's armor, the quiet confidence that carried her through each day at Westlake, where she often felt like an outsider. "Did you hear what Ms. Chen said about the engineering scholarship?" whispered a voice nearby. Johnson got the highest score on the practice assessment. Again. Maya pretended not to hear, focusing instead on organizing her weekend study materials. She'd learned that drawing attention to herself rarely ended well. Well, if it isn't the teacher's pet. The voice belonged to Amber Davies, whose designer clothes and perfectly styled hair screamed, "Family money." Flanking her were Tyler Rodriguez and Zoe Patel, Westlake's unofficial royalty. The three of them controlled the social hierarchy with iron fists wrapped in expensive jewelry. Maya took a deep breath and closed her locker. "Excuse me," she said quietly, trying to step around them. Tyler shifted, blocking her path. "What's the rush? Got another test to ace while making the rest of us look bad?" Maya clutched her books tighter. "I'm just trying to get home." "Oh, right," Zoe snickered, adjusting her pristine white sneakers that probably cost more than Maya's entire wardrobe. "Back to the hood, right? Where exactly is that again?" Heat crept up Maya's neck. She lived in Pine Heights, a working-class neighborhood that wasn't nearly as bad as they made it sound. But correcting them would only give them more ammunition. "Maybe if you spent less time showing off in class and more time learning how to dress, people might actually want to be around you," Amber said, eyeing Maya's thrifted jeans and simple hoodie with disgust. A small crowd had begun to gather, students sensing the tension and hungry for drama. Maya felt her heart racing. She'd been through this before at her old school. She knew the drill. Don't engage. Don't show weakness. "I need to catch my bus," Maya said firmly, her voice betraying none of the anxiety building inside her. Tyler leaned against the lockers, his smirk growing wider. "You know what I don't get? Why they even let you apply for that engineering program. Everyone knows they only picked you to fill their diversity quota." The words hit like a physical blow. Maya had spent countless nights studying, sacrificing sleep and social life to earn her spot in that program. The suggestion that she hadn't earned it on merit made her stomach twist. "That's not true," she said, the words escaping before she could stop them. Amber's eyebrows shot up in mock surprise. "Oh, she speaks. And here I thought you could only talk when teachers asked you questions." Zoe pulled out her phone. "This is gold. The robot has feelings." The phone's camera pointed at Maya, who instinctively turned away. The last thing she needed was to end up on someone's social media as the day's entertainment. "What are you hiding for?" Tyler taunted. "Let's document this rare moment when the charity case tries to defend herself." Something in Maya snapped. Not outwardly. She'd learned long ago to keep her emotions contained. But inside, a decision crystallized. She would not be their victim. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. She squared her shoulders, looked Tyler directly in the eyes, and said with quiet firmness, "My bus is waiting. Move." The three bullies exchanged looks of surprise. This wasn't the reaction they expected. They were used to tears, to stammering, to retreat, not this calm defiance. "Whatever," Amber finally said, stepping aside with exaggerated politeness. "Your royal smartness obviously has important things to do, probably heading home to study while normal people have lives." Maya walked past them with measured steps, ignoring the whispers and giggles that followed. Only when she was safely on bus number 47, seated at the back where no one from school could see her, Did she allow her hands to shake? The ride home was a blur of racing thoughts. It had been 2 months since she'd transferred to Westlake after her mother had found better work in this district. 2 months of keeping her head down, focused only on her studies and staying out of everyone's way. She'd hoped things would be different here. By the time she reached their small 2-bedroom apartment, Maya had composed herself. Her mother would be home from her nursing shift soon, exhausted and worried about bills. The last thing she needed was to hear that her daughter was having trouble at school. In the quiet of her bedroom, Maya stared at her reflection in the small mirror above her desk. The girl who looked back had her father's determined eyes and her mother's strong jawline. She wasn't beautiful by magazine standards, but there was character in her face, intelligence, kindness, and now, a spark of something new, resolve. She opened her engineering textbook and placed it beside her laptop. As she worked through complex problems, her mind kept returning to that moment in the hallway, the satisfaction in their eyes when they thought they'd wounded her, the assumption that she would just take it again and again. Maya had always believed that ignoring bullies was the high road, that focusing on her goals rather than playground politics was the mature choice. But as she sat there working through equations that would help build her future, she wondered if silence was really strength, or if it just emboldened people like Amber, Tyler, and Zoe. Her phone buzzed with a notification. With a sense of dread, she opened it to find she'd been tagged in a post. There she was, caught in an unflattering angle as she tried to avoid Zoe's camera. The caption read, "Scholarship girl thinks she's too good for us regular folks. Someone should teach her how things work at Westlake." Maya's finger hovered over the report button, but she stopped. Reporting it would only make things worse. Instead, she took a screenshot, saved it to a new folder on her phone, and turned back to her studies. This wasn't over. But whatever happened next, Maya decided as she solved another equation with perfect precision, would happen on her terms. Monday morning came too quickly. Maya stood at the bus stop, her weekend spent helping her mom at their convenience store and working ahead on assignments. The crisp autumn air carried a warning of winter, but the chill Maya felt had nothing to do with the weather. She scrolled through her phone, wincing at the notification count. The post Zoe had tagged her in had taken on a life of its own. 37 comments, most from people she barely knew, each one worse than the last. Bet she cheats on tests. Who does she think she is? Go back to your own school. Maya shut off her phone as the bus approached. She'd learned long ago not to let them see her hurt. Her grandmother used to say, "Don't give away your power." Those words became her mantra as she climbed the bus steps. The usual morning chatter died as she walked down the aisle. A few students quickly looked away. Others whispered behind cupped hands. Maya took her usual seat near the back, placed her earbuds in, and opened her physics textbook. If they wanted a reaction, they wouldn't get one. But by third period, Maya realized this was different from the usual teasing. Someone had stuck a crude drawing to her locker, a caricature with exaggerated features and the words, "Scholarship Charity Case" scrawled across the top. She quickly tore it down, stuffing it into her backpack before anyone could see her hands trembling. In chemistry lab, her assigned partner suddenly got sick and moved to another table. At lunch, an entire table cleared out when she approached, with her tray. Maya ate alone, focusing on the environmental science article she needed to finish by Friday instead of the painful lump in her throat. "Is this seat taken?" Maya looked up to find Lee Wei, a quiet boy from her advanced math class, standing with his lunch tray. "No," she said cautiously. Lee sat down without fanfare. "They got to my lab partner too," he said, nodding toward the popular table where Amber, Tyler, and Zoe held court. "Apparently I'm also social suicide now." "What did you do?" Maya asked, corrected Tyler during group work last week. Lee shrugged. He doesn't like being wrong, especially in front of Amber. They ate in comfortable silence. Maya didn't know if she'd made a friend or just found someone equally outcast. But the simple act of not eating alone lightened something inside her. The relief was short-lived. After lunch, Maya opened her locker to find her history project. a detailed timeline of the civil rights movement she'd spent weeks perfecting, soaked with what smelled like orange soda. The carefully drawn illustrations were ruined, the index cards soggy and illegible. "Oh no," gasped Ms. Parker, the history teacher, when Maya brought her the dripping mess. "What happened?" "My locker," Maya said, keeping her voice steady despite the rage building inside her. "Someone must have spilled something." Ms. Parker's expression showed she didn't believe this was an accident. "You'll need to redo it. I can give you an extension until Monday." "Thank you, but I'll have it tomorrow," Maya said. She refused to let them affect her grades. "Maya," Ms. Parker hesitated, "if someone is bothering you, you can tell me." For a moment, Maya considered it. But then she remembered her last school, where telling only made things worse. "I'm fine, really." That afternoon in PE, things escalated. While changing for volleyball, Maya discovered her gym clothes missing. After a frantic search, she found them stuffed in a toilet, soaking wet. With no time to dry them and no spare set, she had to wear her regular clothes, earning her detention for not being prepared for class. The PE teacher, Coach Davis, wouldn't hear her explanation. "Rules are rules, Johnson. Detention after school today." From across the gym, Zoe smirked, twirling her perfectly styled ponytail. The message was clear. "We can get to you anywhere." Detention meant missing her bus. Missing her bus meant walking 3 miles home in the dark. Missing work at the convenience store meant less money for bills this month. The unfairness of it all burned in Maya's chest. After detention, Maya trudged toward home under darkening skies. Rain began to fall, soaking through her thin jacket. A car slowed beside her and her heart rate spiked until she recognized Mr. Gonzalez, their elderly neighbor. "Maya, what are you doing walking in this weather? Get in, I'll drive you." During the short ride, Mr. Gonzalez asked about school. Maya gave non-committal answers, but something in her expression must have given her away. "You know," he said as they pulled up to her apartment building, "my wife taught high school for 40 years. She always said the brightest students faced the hardest battles, not just with the work, but with others who felt threatened by their light." Maya thanked him for the ride and hurried inside, his words echoing in her mind. Threatened by her light? The idea seemed ridiculous. She wasn't special. Just a girl trying to get through school so she could build a better life for herself and her mom. She found her mother at the kitchen table, surrounded by bills and a calculator. "You're late," her mom said, worry lines creasing her forehead. "And wet. What happened?" "Detention," Maya admitted, "for not having gym clothes." Her mother looked up sharply. "That doesn't sound like you." "Someone took them," Maya said, the day's events finally catching up with her. Her voice cracked slightly. "Mom, I hate that school." Her mother's face softened. She pulled out a chair. "Sit. Tell me everything." For the first time since the bullying began, Maya let it all pour out. The social media posts, the ruined project, the isolation. Her mother listened in silence, her expression growing darker. "We'll go to the principal tomorrow," she decided. "This has to stop." Maya shook her head. "It'll just make things worse. Their parents donate money to the school. They're untouchable." "No, one is untouchable," her mother said firmly. "And no one messes with my daughter." The next morning, they sat in Principal Wallace's office. Maya's mother, still in her night shift nursing scrubs, explained the situation while Maya stared at her. Hence Principal Wallace sighed. "These are serious accusations, Mrs. Johnson, but without proof." "Proof?" Maya's mother interrupted. "My daughter's ruined project isn't proof. The detention slip isn't proof." "That proves something happened, not who did it," the principal said. "And the social media posts, while unfortunate, happened outside school hours on personal accounts." "So you'll do nothing?" Mrs. Johnson's voice rose. "I'll speak to the students involved," he said, avoiding their eyes. "But I suggest Maya might try harder to fit in. Sometimes standing out academically can create social challenges." In that moment, something shifted in Maya. The system designed to protect her was suggesting she dim her light instead. As they left the office, she caught sight of Amber, Tyler, and Zoe watching from the hallway, confident smiles on their faces. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd broken her. That night, staring at her ceiling, Maya made a decision. If the adults wouldn't help and hiding her abilities wasn't an option, she needed a new approach. She needed to fight back, not with their tactics, but with something they wouldn't expect. She needed a plan. Maya sat cross-legged on her bed, a notebook open in front of her. The weekend had given her time to think, and now she wrote with purpose, the pencil moving quickly across the page. Her mom had left for her night shift at the hospital, leaving the apartment quiet except for the occasional car passing outside. "Know your enemy," her father used to say before he passed. He'd been a chess player, always thinking 5 moves ahead. Maya hadn't understood what he meant back then, but now, facing her own battle, his words made perfect sense. She turned to a fresh page and wrote 3 names: Amber Davies, Tyler Rodriguez, Zoe Patel. Underneath each, she began listing what she knew. Amber: rich parents, needs constant validation, hates being ignored, obsessed with social status. Tyler: captain of debate team but cheats on tests, parents are lawyers, fears academic failure. Zoe: always follows Amber's lead, secretly struggles in science classes, father is on the school board. Maya tapped her pencil against her chin. Simply reporting them hadn't worked. Fighting back physically wasn't an option. She'd never stoop to their level, and it would only get her expelled. No, she needed something smarter, something that would make them stop without destroying her own future. Her phone buzzed with a text from Li Wei. "Did you see what they posted now?" Maya hesitated before checking her social media. A new account had appeared called Westlake Reality, with a single post, a badly photoshopped picture of her begging for money. The caption read, "Scholarship Girls Weekend Job, collecting handouts." The comment section was already filling with laughing emojis. Maya felt her face burning with anger, but beneath that was something else: determination. This was digital. Evidence. She took screenshots, saving them to her growing folder. "Don't respond," she texted Lee. "I have a plan." Monday morning, Maya did something unexpected. She arrived at school early. The hallways were nearly empty as she made her way to the bulletin board outside the main office. A colorful flyer caught her eye. "Join the Westlake Chronicle. School newspaper needs reporters, photographers, and editors." 20 minutes later, she walked out of Ms. Rivera's classroom with an application form and her first assignment: cover the upcoming academic showcase where students would present their projects to parents, teachers, and school board members. "You have a good eye for detail," Ms. Rivera had said, reviewing Maya's writing sample. "We need someone who can observe and report accurately." Next, Maya headed to the technology lab where she found Mr. Chan setting up computers. "The ethics committee?" he repeated when she asked about joining. "Most students find it boring. It's mostly reviewing school policies and handling academic integrity cases." "I'm interested in how systems work," Maya said simply, "and I have experience with situations where existing policies might need improvement." Mr. Chan studied her for a moment before nodding. "We meet Wednesdays after school. I'll add you to the email list." By lunch, Maya had joined 3 more groups: the tutoring center, the school website team, and unexpectedly, the photography club. "What are you doing?" Lee asked when they met at their now regular lunch table. "You hate having your picture taken." "I'm not going to be in front of the camera," Maya explained, showing him the school camera she'd checked out. "I'll be behind." "I don't get it," Lee said, looking confused. "How does joining clubs help with, you know?" He nodded toward the popular table where Amber was holding court. Maya smiled slightly. "Chess, not checkers." Over the next 2 weeks, Maya moved differently through the school. The bullying continued. Nasty notes in her locker, whispers in the hallway, more social media posts. But now, she documented everything. Each incident went into her folder, along with dates, times, and witnesses. Through the newspaper, she gained access to school events she would have otherwise avoided. She photographed assemblies, sports games, and club meetings, always from the sidelines, always watching. "You've got quite an eye," said Ms. Rivera, reviewing Maya's photos for the paper. "You catch people in very revealing moments." It was true. Maya had developed a knack for capturing genuine expressions when people thought no one was watching, like Tyler checking his phone during a test, or Amber laughing at a freshman who had tripped in the cafeteria. Through the ethics committee, Maya learned about school policies on bullying, harassment, and academic integrity. She discovered the proper channels for reporting incidents, the documentation required, and most importantly, the consequences when enough evidence was presented. "The key is documentation," Mr. Chan explained during a committee meeting. "Without evidence, it's just one person's word against another's." On the tutoring team, Maya helped struggling students with math and science, including, to her surprise, several athletes who were friends with Tyler. "You explain this way better than Mr. Keller," said Jackson, a basketball player, after she helped him understand a difficult calculus concept. "Tyler said you were—" "Well, never mind what he said, he's wrong." Slowly, Maya was building something. Not friends exactly, but connections. People who saw her as more than just the scholarship girl. People who might listen when the time came. At home, Maya's mother noticed the change. "You seem different," she said one evening as they washed dishes together. "More, I don't know, focused? Are things better at school?" Maya considered the question. "Not better," she said carefully, "but I understand the situation better now." Her mother looked worried. "You're not planning anything dangerous, are you?" "No," Maya assured her. "Just something necessary." The bullies noticed the change too. Maya's refusal to react to their taunts was frustrating them. Twice, Amber had tried to provoke her in the hallway, but Maya had simply continued her conversation with a newspaper colleague, as if Amber were invisible. "What's she up to?" Zoe wondered aloud in the bathroom, not realizing Maya was in a stall. "Who cares?" Amber replied. "She's nobody. Did you see how pathetic she looked taking pictures at the game? Like anyone wants to see her work." Maya smiled to herself as she quietly took notes. The academic showcase was approaching fast. All three of her tormentors would be presenting their projects: Amber's fashion marketing plan, Tyler's economic analysis, and Zoe's environmental proposal. Maya would be there too, but not just as a reporter for the school paper. She had her own engineering project to present, a design for an affordable water filtration system. But that wasn't all she had prepared. The night before the showcase, Maya sat at her desk reviewing everything she had collected. Screenshots of social media posts, photos of vandalized school projects, recordings of threats made in hallways captured on her phone when they thought she wasn't paying attention. Testimonies from other students who had been bullied but were too afraid to speak up alone. She organized it all into a simple, powerful presentation. Not to shame or humiliate, Maya was better than that, but to show the pattern of behavior that the school had been ignoring. To shine a light on a problem bigger than just her experience. Lee had helped her with the technical aspects, making sure the digital presentation was flawless. "Are you sure about this?" he had asked. "They might come after you even harder." Maya closed her laptop and thought about his question. Was she ready for the possible backlash? For the attention this would bring? She thought about the freshmen she'd seen crying in the bathroom after Zoe had mocked her clothes. About the quiet boy who had transferred schools after Tyler had spread rumors about him. About her own ruined projects and sleepless nights. Yes, she was ready. Not for revenge, but for justice. Not just for herself, but for everyone who had been silenced. Tomorrow, Westlake High would learn what happened when you pushed the quiet girl too far. Not through violence or cruelty, but through truth and accountability. Maya turned off her light and went to bed, calm and prepared. Tomorrow would change everything. The day of the academic showcase arrived with gray skies and light rain. Maya woke before her alarm, her body tense with anticipation. Today was the day everything would change. She dressed carefully in her nicest clothes, dark blue jeans without any holes, a crisp white button-up shirt her mother had ironed the night before, and the one pair of decent shoes she owned. Her hair was neatly braided, her face clean of makeup but glowing with purpose. "You look beautiful," her mother said when Maya emerged from her room. "And strong." "I'm nervous," Maya admitted, picking at her breakfast. Her mother reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what's right even when you're scared." The school gymnasium had been transformed for the showcase. Tables lined the walls, each displaying a student project. Chairs had been arranged in the center for parents, teachers, and school board members. A podium stood at the front where Principal Wallace would introduce each presenter. Maya set up her water filtration system prototype on her assigned table. Beside it, she placed her laptop and a small flash drive. Her heart pounded as she saw Amber's parents arrive. Her father, in an expensive suit, her mother dripping with jewelry. Tyler's parents followed shortly after, both checking their phones importantly. Zoe's father, Dr. Patel, a tall man with a stern expression, spoke with Principal Wallace at the entrance. "Everything ready?" Lee asked, appearing beside her table. He wore a button-up shirt that was slightly too big for him, his attempt at dressing up for the occasion. Maya nodded, her throat suddenly dry. "Is the tech team prepared?" "Just like we practiced," Lee assured her. "When you're ready to switch presentations, just give the signal." Students and families continued to file in. Maya saw several teachers, including Ms. Rivera from the newspaper and Mr. Chan from the ethics committee. A few of the athletes she'd tutored nodded in her direction. Her stomach tightened when Amber, Tyler, and Zoe entered together, their projects already set up at prime locations near the front of the room. They moved with the confidence of people who had never faced consequences, who believed the world would always bend to accommodate them. Principal Wallace tapped the microphone. "Welcome to Westlake High's Academic Showcase. Today our students will present projects they've been developing throughout the semester. We'll begin with our engineering and science displays, followed by economics, social studies, and arts." The presentations began. Maya watched, her hands clasped tightly together as other students shared their work. Some were nervous, some confident. Parents applauded politely after each one. "Next," Principal Wallace announced, "we have Amber Davies presenting her fashion marketing analysis." Amber strode to the podium, her smile practiced and perfect. "My project examines trend forecasting in the fashion industry," she began smoothly. "Through market research and social media analysis." As she spoke, Maya noticed Zoe giggling with another girl, pointing at someone's project mockingly. Tyler was on his phone, clearly not paying attention to his friend's presentation. The adults seemed not to notice or care about this disrespect. 3. More students presented before Principal Wallace called Tyler's name. His economic analysis was clearly well researched, though Maya recognized several passages that seemed suspiciously similar to published articles she'd read during her own research. "And now," Principal Wallace said, "Zoe Patel will share her environmental initiative proposal." Zoe's presentation included beautiful graphics and emotional appeals about protecting the environment, but lacked substance or practical solutions. Still, her father nodded approvingly from the front row. 4 more students presented their projects. Maya's palms began to sweat as her turn approached. She caught Lee's eye across the room. He gave her a subtle thumbs up. "Next," Principal Wallace announced, "Maya Johnson with her water filtration system design." Maya walked to the podium, her legs feeling like they might give way beneath her. She took a deep breath, placed her flash drive into the computer, and faced the audience. "Good afternoon," she began, her voice steadier than she expected. "My project began with a question. How can we make clean water accessible to everyone regardless of their economic situation?" From the corner of her eye, she saw Amber whispering something to Tyler, both of them smirking. Zoe pulled out her phone, likely to record what they hoped would be an embarrassing moment. Maya continued explaining her filtration system, showing diagrams and cost analyses. The audience seemed genuinely interested. Even Dr. Patel leaned forward slightly. Then just as she reached the demonstration portion, the screen behind her suddenly flashed. Instead of her water quality charts, an image appeared. A badly photoshopped picture of Maya begging for money. Gasps filled the room. Principal Wallace stepped forward, confusion on his face. "I'm sorry, there seems to be a technical—" "Actually," Maya said calmly, "this is part of my presentation." She turned to face the screen, her heart hammering but her voice steady. "What you're seeing is content created and shared by fellow Westlake students. This particular image was posted 3 weeks ago on a social media account called Westlake Reality." Maya nodded to Lee, who pressed a button on his laptop. The screen changed to show screenshots of more posts, each one displaying a different form of cyberbullying. "For the past few months, I've been documenting a pattern of behavior at our school," Maya continued. "Not just directed at me, but at several students who didn't fit certain social expectations." The room had gone completely silent. Amber's face had drained of color. Tyler looked around nervously. Zoe had stopped recording and was staring at the screen in horror. "I'm not here to name individuals publicly," Maya said, her voice growing stronger. "That would be doing exactly what was done to me. Instead, I want to address a system that allows this behavior to continue unchecked." She clicked to the next slide, which showed the school's anti-bullying policy. According to Westlake's own guidelines, bullying is defined as unwanted, aggressive behavior that involves a real or perceived power imbalance. The policy states that all incidents should be taken seriously and addressed promptly. Maya then displayed a timeline of incidents she had reported, alongside the school's minimal responses. When students try to use the proper channels, they're often told to try to fit in better, or that kids will be kids. She noticed Principal Wallace shifting uncomfortably. Several parents were whispering to each other. Dr. Patel was staring directly at his daughter, who couldn't meet his eyes. "This isn't about revenge," Maya continued. "It's about accountability and creating a school where everyone can learn without fear. I've compiled a report with evidence of these incidents, which I've submitted to the Ethics Committee and the school board." Maya clicked to her final slide, which showed her original water filtration system presentation. "And yes, I also designed an affordable water filtration system that could help communities with limited resources. Because despite what's happened, I still believe in using knowledge to help others." She returned to her original presentation, explaining her design clearly and answering questions with confidence. When she finished, the applause was scattered at first, then grew stronger. Maya returned to her seat, her legs finally giving way as she sat down. The rest of the showcase continued in a strange, subdued atmosphere. Maya noticed Dr. Patel talking intensely with Zoe in a corner. Amber's mother was on her phone, her face tight with anger. Tyler sat alone, staring at his hands. After the final presentation, Principal Wallace called for a short recess before the awards would be announced. People gathered in small groups, many glancing in Maya's direction with expressions ranging from admiration to discomfort. Ms. Rivera approached Maya's table. "That was quite a presentation," she said quietly. "Brave and long overdue." Mr. Chan joined them along with 2 people Maya didn't recognize. "Maya, this is Mr. Johnson from the school board and Dr. Lopez, the district superintendent." "We'd like to speak with you," Dr. Lopez said, her expression serious but kind, "about your report and your experiences." As Maya followed them toward a quieter corner of the gymnasium, she caught sight of Amber, Tyler, and Zoe standing with Principal Wallace and their parents. For the first time since she'd known them, they looked small and uncertain, stripped of their usual confidence. Maya took a deep breath. Whatever happened next, she had spoken her truth. She had used her voice not just for herself, but for every student who had been silenced by fear. And in that moment, she felt truly unbreakable. A week after the academic showcase, Westlake High felt like a different place. Maya walked through the hallways, no longer trying to make herself invisible. Students she'd never spoken to before nodded or smiled as she passed. A few even stopped to congratulate her on winning the engineering award for her water filtration system. But the biggest changes had happened behind closed doors. Maya had spent 3 hours in a meeting with Dr. Lopez, the district superintendent, Mr. Johnson from the school board, and her mother. They had reviewed her evidence folder carefully, asking detailed questions about each incident. Maya answered truthfully, neither exaggerating nor downplaying what had happened. "You've been very thorough," Dr. Lopez had said, looking through the screenshots and recordings. "And very fair. I notice you've focused on patterns rather than singling out individuals." "It's not about punishing specific people," Maya had explained. "It's about fixing a broken system." Now, sitting in the cafeteria with Lee and two new friends from the newspaper, Maya watched Principal Wallace approach their table. The conversations around them quieted as students noticed. "Maya," he said, his expression unreadable, "could you come to my office after lunch? There are some developments I'd like to discuss with you." Maya nodded, her stomach tightening. Despite the support she'd received from the district officials, she still worried about backlash. Principal Wallace had seemed defensive during their meeting, uncomfortable with the spotlight on his leadership failures. "Want me to come with you?" Lee offered after the principal left. "I'll be okay," Maya said, though she appreciated his concern. An hour later, Maya sat across from Principal Wallace in his office. To her surprise, Ms. Rivera from the newspaper and Mr. Chan from the ethics committee were there too. "I'll be direct," Principal Wallace began, folding his hands on his desk. "The district has completed its review of your report. As a result, there will be some significant changes at Westlake." He took a deep breath. "First, I've been placed on administrative probation. The board feels, and I agree, that I failed to adequately address the bullying situation when you brought it to my attention." Maya blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected him to admit fault. "Second," he continued, "we're implementing a new anti-bullying protocol, effective immediately. Ms. Rivera and Mr. Chan will co-chair a student-faculty committee to oversee its development and enforcement. We'd like you to join that committee." Maya glanced at her teachers, who both nodded encouragingly. "And finally," Principal Wallace said, "there will be consequences for the students involved. I can't share all the details due to privacy rules, but I can tell you that they include community service, counseling, and academic probation. In one case, there may be a temporary suspension." "I'm not interested in punishment," Maya said quietly. "I just want things to change." "And they will," Ms. Rivera assured her. "Your courage has opened a door that's been nailed shut for too long." As Maya left the office, she felt lighter somehow, as if a weight she'd carried for months had finally been lifted. But this wasn't the end of the story. The hardest part might still be ahead. She found out how hard the next morning when she arrived at school to find Amber waiting by her locker. Maya approached cautiously, noticing the other girl's red-rimmed eyes and uncharacteristically subdued appearance. "Can we talk?" Amber asked, her voice lacking its usual sharp edge. "Somewhere private?" They ended up in an empty classroom. Amber sat at a desk fidgeting with a tissue in her hands. "My parents are furious," she began. "They've taken away my phone, my car, everything. Dad says I've embarrassed the family." Maya said nothing, waiting for her to continue. "I have to do 100 hours of community service," Amber went on, "at a homeless shelter. And I have to see the school counselor twice a week." She looked up at Maya, her expression a mix of anger and confusion. "Why didn't you just name me in your presentation? You had every right to." Maya considered the question carefully. "Because this was never about making you feel what I felt. That wouldn't fix anything. My dad says I should apologize to you," Amber said stiffly. "Is that what you want to do?" Amber's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what I want. I've never been in trouble before. Everyone's looking at me differently now." "I know how that feels," Maya said simply. Amber winced at the gentle reminder. After a moment, she nodded slightly. "Yeah, I guess you do." She stood up to leave, then paused at the door. "For what it's worth, your water thing was actually pretty cool. My mom said it could help a lot of people. It wasn't exactly an apology, but it was something, a beginning." Over the next few weeks, Maya encountered the other bullies too. Tyler approached her in the library, awkwardly asking if she would tutor him in calculus, since his grades were slipping. His parents had threatened to withdraw their financial support for college if he didn't improve academically. "They're watching me like hawks now," he admitted. "Dad says one more strike and I'm on my own." Maya agreed to help him, setting clear boundaries about their tutoring sessions. She noticed he worked harder than she expected, genuinely struggling with concepts he'd previously pretended to understand. Zoe was the most affected. Her father, already strict about academics, had been deeply embarrassed to discover his daughter's behavior. As a school board member committed to educational excellence, he found her actions particularly disappointing. Maya spotted Zoe alone in the bathroom one day crying. She almost walked away, but something made her stop. "Are you okay?" she asked. Zoe looked up, startled. "Why do you care? You should hate me." "Hating you would only hurt me more," Maya said. "Besides, it looks like you're doing enough of that yourself." Zoe wiped her eyes. "Dad's making me see a therapist. He says I have empathy deficits." She gave a small, bitter laugh. "He's probably right. I never thought about how things felt for you. It was just fun, I guess, to have power over someone." "And now?" Maya asked. "Now I feel awful," Zoe admitted. "I can't sleep. I keep thinking about all the things we did, not just to you, but to others too." She hesitated. "I want to make it right, but I don't know how." "You could start by helping with the anti-bullying committee," Maya suggested. "Share what you've learned." By the end of the semester, Westlake had changed in ways both visible and invisible. The new anti-bullying protocols included a confidential reporting system and clear consequences for violations. The ethics committee had expanded to include more student voices. The school newspaper ran a series on building a positive community that won a regional award. On the last day before winter break, Maya sat in the library finishing an essay. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Got the promotion. Extra money means new laptop for you. Proud of my girl." Maya smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. As she packed up her books, she noticed Amber, Tyler, and Zoe sitting at different tables across the room. They weren't friends anymore. Their shared cruelty had been the main thing binding them together. Now they were finding their own paths, some more successfully than others. None of them would ever be her close friends. Some wounds took too long to heal. But Maya had found her own community. Lee, her newspaper colleagues, fellow committee members, even some of the athletes she tutored. More importantly, she had found her voice, not through shouting or fighting back with the same weapons that had been used against her, but through quiet strength, strategic thinking, and an unwavering belief in justice. As she walked home through the winter afternoon, Maya thought about how far she had come. The bullies had wanted to break her spirit, to make her believe she didn't belong. Instead, they had forced her to discover just how unbreakable she truly was. Some lessons, it turned out, were worth learning the hard way.